This morning is Dr. Martin Luther King, Sr. Stay tuned for Turning Point.
It has been said each person in his lifetime reaches a turning point. Our purpose is to present some of these through our host, Bill Turpie.
Good morning. Welcome to Turning Point. Our guest this morning is Dr. Martin Luther King, Sr. Dr. King, you're in town for a series of meetings at Concord Baptist Church, and your son wrote a book, authored a book called Stride Toward Freedom. What kind of strides do you think have been made since the death of your son, a death that we all regret, toward freedom in our country?
Well, I hold we have made some strides in the area of freedom, and we still are making some. Not at all as fast as we'd like. It moves slowly, but I think we are moving. And that is important, too, to know that we are moving.
What gives you a sense of the fact that we are moving somewhere?
Well, as I travel all over America, I do see some signs of acceptance of brotherhood. I'm on record as preaching every man's brother. I'm serious about it. I am every man's brother. I hope every man is my brother. I think our world is in desperate need of going on practicing brotherhood, world brotherhood, to brother, to every man. And I think this is moving in that direction. I see some signs of acceptance.
Dr. King, what about and maybe it's wrong to do this at this point, but we do break this country up into the north and the south. Your church, Ebenezer Baptist Church, is located in the south in Atlanta, but you say you've been traveling around the country. Do you find that there is greater acceptance, that things are moving faster in the south or in the north?
Without a question, we're moving fast in the south. We've had really more, as I see it, compliance in some of the southern cities than we have in the northern. I would think. Now, of course, we've got to always remember that we've got hundreds of little governments in the deep south that's done nothing. They have accepted any part of the civil rights package, anything. They just still segregated. We know this. And there is a breakthrough, though, even in these areas. But it's just got to continue to work after it. So I think that today is really more actual acceptance and freedom in the South than we have in the North right now. You see, the North has been segregated all the time, but it's been more subtle. The South, we knew where it was. In the North, in many instances, we didn't know until we were told. So this has been different, and this has been a great deal of difference, too, I think.
What about in terms of your son and his life and his death? Of course, many people say that he contributed more in his life toward a great many things happening in this country to provide an openness, to provide a breakdown of racism. But also many people say that his death provided a tremendous opening that might not have occurred had it not been for his death. How do you see that?
Well, this is hard to say. It's hard to say, maybe so. We know that he isn't dead. I would never, I don't, first of all, I don't believe in death, dying, as far as I'm concerned. He isn't dead. His ideals will live, they are living, they will continue to live. And I think much is being done in his death. But now whether or not more is being accomplished in his death than in his life. I can't quite say, because it still remains to be seen what impact he would have had if he had been able to carry on.
That's always a question that.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't.
It's a debatable question, you know.
You,
and it's pretty hard to say.
I imagine there are a lot of ifs that torment you at times.
Right. And I stay out of the whys as much as I can. I just won't let myself go continuing to asking why this happened. Why did it have to be this way? You can't work it out. I mean, it's something you can't fathom too easily. So I leave it at that and go on and see what the end's going to be.
A lot of tragedy has occurred in your life recently, the death of two sons.
Right.
How do you cope with tragedy? I think this is a tremendous lesson. I think you're a tremendous, testimonial to the fact that people have to live through tragedy and come up with some ways of coping with it.
Yeah.
How have you done that?
I guess my wife and I both are people of strong faith, and we feel these things must come, and they come to man, not only to our family, but to other families. And of all of the years we have been Christian and religious people and talking about faith and all of this, now it comes ours to live this, not only talk it, but live it in sermons that people can see every day. So we accept it. Now, not at all do we accept this saying it doesn't hurt, that we don't feel it, that we aren't concerned. I often state, and I mean this, my head is bloody, but unbowed. I'm not going to let these things or anything get me down. I'm determined to go on with what God has left for me to do, and believing that he will provide and that he will see us through somehow. And just to sit down somewhere and pine away and cry yourself to death ain't going to bring any of these people back. You're still going to have this with you. And I don't accept this as being a cross either. These things are sent to man.
That's amazing to hear you say. I would think people would say, what a cross that man has to bear.
No. This is sent to man. If you were not a Christian, if you were not a church person, these things, death comes to all of us. They're sent to us. But now, a far different thing is whether or not one takes up his responsibility of his own volition. So I choose there to take up my cross and bear it and go on uncomplaining. And I do. I don't complain about these things. I'm not going to talk about the death of my sons every time I'm delivering a message, got to go back and bring this up. I don't. I just go on and let that take care of itself, and it will ultimately.
What do you think was the most important? I mean, a son obviously comes to his father many times, and a father, as his son's growing up, gives him advice, counsel. And your son was an assistant pastor with you for a time, I know. A co-pastor. At Ebenezer Baptist in Atlanta. What do you think is the greatest counsel, the most important counsel that you passed on to your son?
That's hard to say. My son's always said, and I always accepted this in humility, deep humility, that as a father, I was their ideal as a preacher. And they saw in me all that encountered a committed, devoted preacher. And they had explicit confidence in it. Now, in me, I don't know. The best I think I could say there, that we tried desperately to walk before them and teach them the right way as we saw right. It might not always been right, but we thought we were. So I taught my children love, and I tried to live that. I loved their mother. I loved them, and I loved people around us, and this is the way they thought. Well, they thought that always was a kind of God-sent, committed idea coming from their daddy and mother. And this is the way we lived, and that's the way they lived. So we just love people, that's all people. We never did say we love this racial group or that. We just love people.
But not every man that's in a situation where he's feeling prejudice is willing to become the kind of leader and prophet and spokesman that Martin Luther King Jr. became. What do you think pushed him into that prominence, into that position?
Well, it might have been he was born in love, as I keep on stating. You see, I don't know what it is to be bitter. I'm just not going to be bitter. I'm not bitter. I carry no ill will or hate in my heart against any man. Never have, I never will. And I think I know why I feel this way. Now, I could have been a person who just hated everybody, and especially whites. For instance, when I was a smaller boy, I saw so many mistreatments to blacks, and even to myself, how I was treated, that I said, when I get to be a man, I'm going to hate every white face I ever saw. And my mother kept telling me this is wrong and teaching me not to do this. So finally, I began to take a look at it. And now I know why that I do not hate anybody now. I know how I feel by every man. You don't get rid of what someone does to you by hating him. You don't get it about it. You get the worst of it, the individual. Gets much worse than that he's given out. So that I'm not going to hate. Martin Luther King wouldn't hate anybody if they beat him and drug him, twisted his arm, almost broke them.
Even the persons who killed your son.
I don't hate him. Oh, no. I don't have bitter ill will. No kind of ill will in my heart against him.
How does a man live like that?
Well, to me it's easy. I don't know how every other man sees it. It's no problem for me to go on and love everybody because I know this is not the end.
That's great to hear. And we've got just a moment left. And what kind of hope do you have for this country?
I still hope. I'm disturbed about America. Awfully disturbed. Bothered disturbed. But I hope that America's finally going to come to her knees in repentance and comply and go on and accept every man as first-class citizens. See that every man has a right to live where he wishes, and to do what he has the ability to do.
Dr. King, thank you for joining us on Turning Point. Our guest this morning, Dr. Martin Luther King Sr. This has been Turning Point. I'm Bill Turpie. Thanks for listening.
This has been Turning Point, hosted by Reverend Bill Turpie of the First Baptist Church in Hingham, Massachusetts. Our program was pre-recorded and brought to you in cooperation with the American Baptist Churches of Massachusetts and the Massachusetts Council of Churches. Join us again next Sunday for Turning Point.